Hello and welcome to Strong at Home. I'm Dr. Brenda Murphy and I'm an educational psychologist at Sail Away Learning and Academy. And we work with families to help make their children's learning experience, K-12 and beyond, a very beneficial and practical and pleasant one for all involved. And so in our series, we've been talking with Dr. Kathy Greenberg, who is a Professor Emerita at the University of Tennessee. She was my advisor during my doctoral studies, and I am so delighted to have her with me. We have been talking for the last several sessions. We've talked with several sessions about thinking. How can we think better, and how does thinking impact learning? Obviously, that is an issue. And Kathy's work has been focusing on, for her lifetime of study, on the work of a theorist named Reuven Feuerstein. And he wanted to find ways that children could learn better. In Kathy's story, she shared the story of Jimmy, who was a young man who was 13 in the 5th grade, could not read and could not write. The special ed people said that he was too smart for their classes and he was not able, he needed extra help from the remedial. And so he was too smart, but yet he wasn't capable enough. And we here at Sail Away call those kids falling through the crack kids, because no one's there to help them through their difficulties. However, I believe that what Kathy's work, her lifetime work, will help those children, whether they're in a classroom situation, whether they're in a homeschool situation, whether parents are helping their children with homework, or just life situations at home. And it's called meta-strategic knowledge. And we've been talking about that a lot. And Kathy has created a program called Cognitive Enrichment Advantage. And in that program, based on meta-strategic knowledge, there are two aspects: building blocks of thinking and tools of learning. And Kathy, I have not even given you a chance to say hello. So hello. I've just been so ramped up in letting everyone know about this amazing approach that covers not just academics, but real life situations. Because as we talked in our session about what is thinking, sometimes it's like, what are you thinking that comes out? And we often don't understand our thought processes and how we can corral our thinking and apply it in a learning situation to be more productive and handle what is being asked of us. So, Kathy, let's kind of review a little bit about the building blocks and tools. I'll bring those up on the slide again. And today we really are going to focus on the building blocks of thinking. So if you give us a brief, just 100,000-foot view of what is a building block of thinking, and then we'll go right into the specifics.
Building blocks of thinking focus on the micro-level cognitive processes that we use when we're thinking or learning. And they're often hidden from us unless we have a need and unless someone helps us to understand how we can develop strategies based upon them. Now, whether we're able to use these effectively depends upon a number of factors. One would be the degree of challenge. If we're not challenged by a particular learning task, we don't have a need to really develop strategies around any of the building blocks or tools. But also, if we're not aware of the need for one, we just are blindly doing our work and we're not making any comparisons, we're not doing any quality control, is this really what's expected of me? Then we're not aware of that we have that need. If we don't understand any of the building blocks or tools, we don't have this repertoire to draw from to build a strategy. So we need some meta-strategic knowledge. Now, it's important to realize that if you use this kind of meta-strategic knowledge effectively, it leads to successful learning. It can really help you as some African American teachers have said, you turn stumbling blocks into stepping stones.
Love
But
that.
yeah, if it isn't, though, that you're just void of, let's say, a way to approach a task, if you don't have the knowledge or aren't successful. Instead, you develop bad habits for learning. So you either have a more systematic exploration of the way that you approach a task, but if you don't have a systematic way, you haven't thought about how to be sure you're systematic, then you're going to be impulsive and much less systematic. So here we are looking at one of the three parts of the building blocks, and that is, how am I approaching the learning experience? Am I exploring it in a systematic way, or, oh, I'm not. I'm impulsive in the way I explore. So therefore, I need to build a strategy to be more systematic. How am I planning? Do I even understand what a plan is? And do I build a plan and then express it through my thoughts and actions? Am I actually using my plan? Does my plan need to change because it wasn't, now that I get into the task, I see that it's not as effective as I thought it would be, and I need to change, add some steps, just do away with some steps and put in some different ones. So you go round in a loop with approaching the learning experience, from exploring to planning to expression and thoughts, and back again, and amongst all three of those. So
right,
that's
and I love that, because approaching has the sense of you haven't had to get engaged yet. In other words, it's like if there is a project or an assignment that is given to a student, rather than having to just jump in, not even knowing what's going on, that if you apply approaching the thinking, the building block of thinking, that you say, okay, before I even engage, like I even take off on this activity or this assignment, what do I need to do first? And have I really looked at what there is to be done? Very often that's as simple as like reading the directions. And often a lot of students don't even think about that, because that's not part of their metastrategic thinking. They haven't put together a strategy for how am I going to go about this particular activity. For example, in some of the ACT prep courses, a huge part of that is teaching strategies, and one of them is how do they approach taking the test. It's not even the content or how to think through a specific kind of question, but it is exploring different aspects of it and planning how am I going to pace myself or other things, and then how to express the thoughts and the actions of getting engaged in that task. So this is a very important aspect. These are very important building blocks for being successful in tasks in many different places, not just in school, but at test taking or in planning at home. So we see the picture there too of lots of different aspects before you actually get started with the task.
right. That's right.
Okay. So next, we have a number of aspects. Can you talk to us about making meaning while we pull up the specific building blocks under the making meaning aspects?
You've got to be able to think about the different pieces of your task, your learning, in order that you are even interested, but also in order to approach it in a way that's going to be effective. It's got to have some meaning, some significance for you. So you need to relate things together, your expectations with, say, the teacher's expectations. You need to integrate ideas, either from your memory or that are involved in that particular task where you're choosing from several different parts that you have to put together. Let's say in math, where there are different types of processes you need based on the particular problem that you've been given, not always exactly the same, not the same formula. You need to be able to retrieve from your memory certain things. and be sure that that they are relevant to what you're doing. You have to constantly make comparisons. That's something we do automatically, but we need to be sure when we're a bit overwhelmed by a task that we're not just dropping off and not making the comparisons anymore. And then you need to synthesize and pull things together. Also, we could put analysis up here. Synthesis, pulling together, analysis, breaking it into its parts. They're all a part of the things we need to do to make meaning. And we have building blocks of thinking. We have 5 of them that help with this, and you can build strategies around. So you do a better job with synthesizing or integrating or comparing.
Yeah, and if you are struggling with trying to make meaning in a learning situation, then you can choose from different aspects to see, well, I'm not quite understanding this piece of information. And if I can compare it to something else, then that may help bring better understanding into that situation. And as parents and teachers learn to work with the students to teach them these building blocks of thinking, then they have ways to pull ideas together on their own without having to rely on their parents or teachers or a peer or a brother or sister to help make sure that their learning is complete in every aspect, and at the same time how to build for future learning, which is what another thing that I think meta-strategic knowledge helps considerably with, is not just for the present but for the future as well. So let's go to the third aspect of the building blocks of thinking, which is confirming, and we have several of these.
You could have called it quality control. This seemed a more precise term for children, not in the workplace.
Right.
But it is about clarifying. It is about validating. Yes, I am pleased with this project and my result. And yes, it is what was expected of me, or oops, I need to make a little bit of a change because this is not quite what I was supposed to be doing. And so then it's a matter of correcting. And it's also defining the needs of exactly what should be done, so that I'm aware that I've either met those needs or I need to go back and work a little further. So once you complete an assignment in school, then you've got to be able to look at it and figure out for yourself, rather than waiting for a teacher, whether you did it effectively or not, then to wait for the teacher to just tell you whether you have really learned what was important to learn in that assignment.
Yeah, and when that happens, then I think that the students become more interested in their own learning, because it's not, I'm answering this question to please a teacher or someone else, but I'm actually learning it for myself, and I'm making sure that it's part of what is important for me and not for someone else. So that is a very important way for our students to approach the learning tasks. And so I want to sort of summarize for the building blocks of thinking. They fall into 3 different categories. And so, Kathy, do you want to kind of give a final overview as we come to a conclusion here at our conversation today about the building blocks of thinking today?
Okay, well, you can see there are 3 building blocks for approaching, 5 for making meaning, and 4 for confirming the learning experience. Sometimes they're used in combination together, such as in making meaning, if you had a strategy about making comparisons to see how things are working, that may very much influence your wanting to go back and explore further and gather more information. Or if in confirming, you realize you still are not understanding very well, you may want to go back and get a precise understanding of what the task is about, or a precise understanding of whether your plan is actually going to meet what you wanted to do. So sometimes they're combined together as people develop this repertoire, but it's really important to have some labels for each one. So we have words here that may look a bit intimidating for younger children, but our work with many teachers in many places and with their students shows that these are not difficult terms once they're precisely explained, and lots of examples are given by the teacher as well as by the child, or by the family member as well as the child. Then these terms become good ones that help you to then go, I need to figure out something about problem identification because I just got back my assignment and I made a very big error because I didn't really understand what was going on. I didn't identify the problem and make a plan for overcoming that problem. So what can I do? Maybe I need to do more about getting the main idea of what I was supposed to be doing in order to have a strategy that will work for me.
Yeah, and that's what I really appreciated when we used them here at Sail Away Learning and Academy, that many of the students who had been struggling for so long in many different areas, when they learned to apply building blocks of thinking, and we'll talk about next time the tools of learning, that they were able to self-correct and had more ownership over the learning tasks that they were asked to do. So it was a very positive outcome for all of the kids, and I would see them in their own little world when they were working with these things, and they would very often just say, I think I better apply selective attention to that. So they learned to hold on to that in very practical ways. And so we are, once again, a little over time, but these concepts are important to get a full meaning of. And so as you are considering those, I believe that they will be blessings in your lives and in your children's lives, just like they have been for the students here at Sail Away and for Kathy's students for many, many years. And as I close, I'll close with our blessing for today. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Peace to you today, Kathy, and to all of you out there. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.